If a certain artist decides today, like Bidlaw or Levin, to reinstall Duchamp's urinal, we will never accept his work as new only because he portrays difference without difference. The fountain is already in the museum and there is no need to look at it again. This work becomes a new or meaningful artwork not because it resembles Duchamp's artwork or a profane object, and not because it is different, bracket, produced by different artists or in a different time. It is not meaningful or new by resembling or disresembling, but by bringing a new meaning. If we as artists are still dealing with ready-mades nowadays, which is very common, it became even a practice, it's not because we are repeating again Duchamp's work, and it's not because our objects are similar to what is happening outside the museum, but because through the same exercise of Duchamp, but in a very different way, we are able to bring a new meaning, or bringing meaning as always.
Thank you very much. I request Asad Zaidi to create this collective point.
Thank you, Prasanta. Shrapnel minima. I smiled to myself a bit because at this point in time, for people of our age, it's impossible to totally, overcome the sense of irony within which we perpetually live. I'm glad people were emphasizing minima. What I noticed was shrapnel. Not that it's a military image or an incendiary image, but my mind went to another word called fragment, which for last 2, 3 or even 4 decades have been in circulation. Fragments has ruled social analysis in many disciplines in social sciences. And this is the time when the guys, which are now, when the grand narrative, people were on the run perpetually, when an entire language of critical discourse was almost delegitimized. And it was difficult, to understand each other. So there was this. Now, of course, fragments, so I wondered if now fragment has become shrapnel. Oh my God, now this is getting serious. Anyway, I started looking at it, reading. To my relief, I found that it's very much my kind of thing. This is the kind of things I write myself. That's how I think, sometimes privately and sometimes even through my writing. And this is the kind of publishing I do. Not in case of each individual book, but if you see them together, it's organized from the kind of a list that is grown. It's not very different the way your material is organized. Also, I got to know Prasanta through web. We are all refugees from the real world into Websphere and blogosphere, etc., and Facebook. Not always happily, because as I said, refugees, which means we are escapees. We are escaping from something, run away either from the kind of a claustrophobia of our professional or daily lives. Sometimes we are running away from our own work, from our colleagues, sometimes it's possible. And the kind of guys we have to live with all the time. And that gives a kind of it's a kind of a refuge, a shelter. And stretch out. But the important thing is that it brings all kinds of people together. And very crazy combination. So it is the mix of high and low, people from all sides that get together and talk. in terms of equality or equal terms. So the hierarchies are very difficult to maintain, and creating a fortress around yourself, then you are not really, fit for this kind of, web or activity. So this also adds a certain new dimension to one's way. But the important part is that why we waste so much of our time on the web? And the reasons are not really very far to see. It's not even running away, I say. The way things have gone down in recent times, the kind of conditions we live in, see what's happening to universities as an institution. The kind of things are happening to people around us, the conditions within which work, the conditions of thought, and the fora available for expressing oneself, from academic to popular, everywhere, the terms of trade have totally changed, the atmosphere has changed. So that is one serious dimension. That has to be looked into very seriously, which means that we have to look at the social context of it, the political economy of it, which we often avoid. And when we get into high talk, we often, are very able to glide over it and generally pretend as if those realities, which so tragically affect our own being, don't exist, or really, for the moment don't matter. So this is a double escape. But here there is a certain kind of a freedom. You can express yourself. I mean, people, of course, work and talk through persona. Even for that, they create a new persona, and always doing it. But still, it expands your consciousness and the space around you. But more than that, it creates tremendous possibilities. As I said, that by bringing high and low together on equal terms, certain radical possibilities are created. Whether it's terms of mixing people or ideas or various cultures and subcultures, there is new kind of format that comes on. And your book very well expresses that. So the web has opened an opportunity where creative and critical discourses are linked quite intimately. No mediation through academy or the establishment or the established canon. And this gives us way to explore what else we can do. Something we can't do in our professional life or even in our academic work. We transfer part of our medical urges to that side. The poverty of our present, in a way is compensated by the virtual, the medical activity in the virtual sphere. In a way, it's a relief. And it also gives us a chance to relook at our life. This also gives us a chance to smash this dichotomy that, or a kind of a fake battle between what we in India know as the Paschatya, Angla-Bhashi, the English, and versus the Bhasha. Both of these are constructed terms, in the sense that Bhasha means basic, the native, the non-colonial, the non-colonized, expresses per se radicalism, which is something that I have always criticized. Because the iniquities of the native languages are totally close to them. And we direct all our critique to the colonial condition, post-coloniality, whatever. In a way, exporting responsibility. this kind of thing. Where is one forum I saw, you mentioned a lot of blogs. I'm sure your introduction to a lot of Hindi poetry is through web. And because of the web activism, a lot of intelligent and very committed people who have created these websites, like Kamal Khana, like various other things. There are quite a few. There are at least 24 very good sites and all that. In a way, a kind of this gives you a chance to utilize the natural multilingualism of Indian people. Everybody knows 2, 3, 4, 5 languages to express itself fully without much mediation of, without much infrastructure and kind of effort. Voluntarily exchange notes with each other, subjected to the collective scrutiny, people react to it. My experience is that putting a poem on the web actually brings such wonderful responses, such unexpected responses, that if you are just confined to the literary subject and just make these public recitals of poetry from time to time and publish, you don't get to know these kind of literature. Because half of them are not professional readers of poetry. In Hindi, what is professional reader is poetry is who has gone through Hindi department, who have been taught by acharyas in a certain canonical, under a certain canon, where the things start with Bhartendu and end with Nirmala Sharma. If you talk of one stream, and which has a claim to totality of knowledge. And this is not true of only in Hindi, I think it applies to many Indian languages, which is that our understanding of Indian society will not only come from our literature, but also the way we look at history. And the source of history also will be, our own native Hindi genius, as propounded by the native Hindi Acharya, the professor. So we learn our history, our archaeology, our geology also from Nambar Singh and Abhilashya. So a kind of characterization. And this claim that you don't have to go to learn anything from outside this culturalism. So a culturalism and this claim to totality of knowledge, that it's all available here. बीच में हिंदी में झगड़े होते हैं और लोग कहते भी हैं कि इसे कहते हैं हिंदी का कुआं, but this is not just हिंदी का कुआं. I mean, if you talk to some Kannadiga, after some time, when you are at one page, he will start complaining and compare notes, and then you will get to know it's very different. Marathi, I don't know how it's in Bangla, but I suspect not very different. It's a difference of degrees. In Hindi, the case is a bit extreme, that's about all, not much. And therefore, here is one arena where you can get rid of all that. And then you run into people who are not professional Hindi wala, professional Bangla Sahitya Premi, or professional Marathi Sahitya, Chintak, and have a free discourse, expand, the kind of possibilities of a literary relationship, and sort of expand the whole domain of literature. So this is one thing, and a lot of people learn their literature. Actually, my experience is when I read some poem sometime, it's always the non-Hindi, and sometimes people in IITs or law, college, whose responses are immediate, to the point, and very relevant. And a professional listener of Hindi would say कि ये कैसी कविता है, इसमें तो ऐसे नहीं है, इसमें तो ब्यौरा ज़्यादा है, it's too much full of that descriptive, it's too prosaic, various things. In a way, what they have learned is create too many sensors, too many screens through which they look at literature. It's not a direct touch. unless somebody comes and, there is nothing. I suppose there is a vested interest developed in this kind of a scholasticism and academicism, and that is one thread. It's a very common element of all disciplines, but in the departments, in the institutions of language and literatures, this is most. So together with a kind of a culturalism and the kind of thing that I mentioned, this absolute self-confidence that you don't need to look outside. At the most you go as far as what Gandhi said, कि मैं अपनी खिड़कियाँ खुली रखता हूँ, ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं बंद कर देता हूँ, चलो एक दो खिड़की खोलो. I'm so glad you remembered Shobha and read her point. As far as women in poetry go, she is just about the best poet in Hindi today. Except that you called her underground, which also has very accurate description because she is not yet out with a book. And perhaps she resists, being called a poet. But her minimalism, now she was a student of GME. At the same time that I was a student, we are contemporaries.